Hello students, I am Dr. Himanshu Kandpal, Assistant Professor English, Government MS College for Women, Bikaner. Today I am going to discuss with you all the term lyric. Whenever I teach my students sonnet, ode and elegies, I tell them that they are all kinds of lyric poems. So it is necessary to understand what is a lyric. A lyric is a fairly short poem which is the expression of strong feelings of thoughts or perceptions of a single speaker. Perception means it is the ability to see, hear, or become aware of something through the senses. It is short, highly musical verse that conveys powerful feelings. The poet may use rhyme, meter, or other literary devices while writing a lyric poem to create a song like quality. Now we are going to talk about the origination of lyric poetry. Originally in the ancient Greece, the word lyric was employed for any song which was meant to be sung with a special musical instrument called lyre. But with the passage of time, this musical instrument was abandoned and the word lyric came to be known as any poem expressing personal emotions and feelings of the poet. Elegies, odes, and sonnets are all important kinds of lyric poetry. Now we are going to discuss the salient features of lyric poetry. Lyric poetry is relatively short when it is compared to epic poetry, and it makes use of one speaker who presents his or her emotions or state of mind. Lyric poetry differs from epic poetry. As we all know that lyric poetry is short, but in comparison to epic poetry it is different, because epic poems is a long narrative poem recounting heroic deeds of glorious heroes. For example, that we get from history of English literature is Homer's Iliad and Odyssey. These are long epic poems. Lyric poetry is distinguished from narrative poetry. First we have distinguished from epic poetry. Now we are trying to make a comparison with the narrative poetry, because it does not tell a story. Narrative poems, on the other hand, they tell a story. It means lyric poetry does not present a sequence of events with a beginning, middle and end. These are all the features related to narrative poetry. That the narrative poetry tell a story and present a sequence of events with a beginning, middle and end, whereas lyric poetry is short and it is not like a narrative poem, because it does not present story and sequence of events with a beginning, middle and end. So the lyric poems are short, though ode tends to break this rule. We have heard about the odes, and they are longer poems. It tend to break this general rule. What is an ode? Ode is a lyrical poem in the form of an address to a particular subject which is written in irregular meter, but it forms the part of lyric poetry, and they differentiate, they are somewhat break the rule that lyric poems are always written are fairly short. This brevity Brevity means using only a few words leads to intense imagery and strength of language, for much must be said in small space. What do we mean by imagery? Lyric poems make use of images. Imagery is to create images in the mind of the reader through figurative and metaphorical language to convey much in a small space. Every lyric is composed in such a language that every person can understand it easily. Now we come to the important characteristics of lyric poetry. One of the most important characteristics of lyric poetry is the expression of personal feelings or thoughts. Here I remember one of the beautiful quotes by William Wordsworth, one of the romantic writers, that poetry is the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings, its emotions recollected in tranquility. In the same way, lyric poetry is the expression of personal feelings or thoughts. Other characteristics includes a musical quality and the desire to express a specific emotion or mood. Most lyrical poems are short, but there are longer examples. They also tend to be written in first person and include the writer in the poem. It means the lyric poetry is subjective in tone. Nearly any experience or phenomena can be explored in emotional lyrical mood. It means lyric poetry can employ many themes. It can be from war and patriotism to love and art. The emotion explored is always very intense. Forms and use of literary devices. Lyric poetry also has no prescribed form. Sonnets, villanelles, rondeaux, odes, elegies to songs, and most occasional or ceremonial poems are all considered lyric poems. Here I am going to discuss with you all in short what is a sonnet. Sonnet is a poem of 14 lines. Villanelle is a pastoral or lyrical poem of 19 lines. What is a rondeau? Rondeau is a poem of 10 or 13 lines with only 2 rhymes throughout. Ode is a lyrical poem which is written in the form of an address having an irregular meter. What is an elegy? A poem of serious reflection, typically a lament for the dead. These all are considered lyric poems. When composed in free verse, lyric poetry achieves musicality through literary devices such as alliteration, assonance, and anaphora. What I here mean to convey that a poet make use of different types of literary devices while writing a lyric poetry, which cannot be limited, like using similes, metaphor, personification, etc. But to provide it a musical quality, the poet make use of alliteration. What is alliteration? Alliteration is a repetition of identical initial consonant sounds. Assonance is the repetition of the same or similar vowel sounds within words, phrases, or sentences. Anaphora is a rhetorical device in which a word or expression is repeated at the beginning of a number of sentences, clauses, or phrases. These all are employed to give the lyric poem musical quality and to achieve artistic effect. Some of the examples of lyric poems are Edmund Waller's Go Lovely Rose, William Wordsworth poem The World is Too Much With Us, Emily Dickinson's poem I Felt a Funeral in My Brain, William Butler Yeats's poem, He Wishes for the Clothes of Heaven. Walt Whitman's famous elegy, O Captain, My Captain. P.B. Shelley's Ode to the West Wind. Before completing my presentation, I would like to summarize the facts that are related to lyric poetry or lyric poems. Lyric poems, it is a fairly short poem. It has a song-like quality. It is the expression of personal feelings. It is written in first person. The lyric poems are full of images. They can be written on the themes like war, patriotism, love, and art. Sonnets, odes, elegies, all are considered lyric poems. I hope that the term lyric is now clear to you all. Thank you. Have a lovely day.